Robert Klemko, he's a writer for Sports Illustrated, the MMQB, and his most recent column is There's More History to Antonio Brown's History. And Robert joins us now. What do we know about what happened yesterday with Antonio Brown's accuser meeting with the NFL?
Just that they met. I don't know that it was ever even reported what time they met. They kept it pretty strictly under wraps. She has managed this ever since she went public very well, in my mind, in a sense that she hasn't done any extra media, and she went straight to the league and cooperated with them. And that's something that they've had trouble with in the past, trying to get to accusers who aren't a part of criminal charges, but do have public or reported accusations. They've had difficulty getting a hold of some of these women, but she made herself accessible, and I think that, there won't be any immediate decisions, but they're going to sit around and talk about whether or not they found her credible.
Sports Illustrated conducted interviews with more than 24 people who have employed, worked for, coached, or played alongside Brown, some who have taken legal action against him and others who have not. Why no criminal charges against Antonio Brown?
So a lot of these people say that Antonio Brown owes them, in the hundreds of dollars or the low thousands, $700, $2,000 owed to a guy he had install a 220-gallon fish tank full of piranhas, $700 for a charity that he stole a painting of himself from, allegedly, according to all these people. And so they're filing small claims in civil court, hoping that these things get resolved because they're suing somebody who's worth $69 million. I think that you will see eventually criminal charges filed against him in any number of these cases if they don't ever come to terms with these people, but I can't imagine that Antonio Brown would let it get to that.
Why was he reportedly in the middle of negotiations with this accuser who accused him of rape, sexual assault, that they were trying to settle on something? Why was he settling if he's completely innocent?
Well, I mean, innocent people settle in lawsuits all the time. I don't think that's indication that he's definitely guilty.
Mm-hmm.
But they did have a deal on the table to settle for $2 million, and at the last minute he backed away. I think it kind of speaks to this idea that Antonio is a little bit out on an island at this point in his career and his life. We talked to people who were considered mentors who had kept in touch with him for his entire NFL career who hadn't spoken to him in months. He's a little bit off the grid right now, and I think that his behavior over the last 3 years has to be a product of that.
Yeah, I was talking to a source, this a couple of days ago, who works inside the NFL and is privately worried about his mental, like his state of mind here. And because I said, is this a brand? And he just decided that he wants to be bigger and he's not just a football player and, all these things. And this person who knows him says, I am privately worried that there is more to this. Did anybody, come to that conclusion with Antonio Brown?
Most of the people that knew him in high school and in college did, and felt like there had to be way more to the story than was being indicated. I've covered the NFL for 6 years. I've been around a few star players and kind of understood these little entourages that they have and how quickly they can change. You might replace a marketing person or you might replace a personal assistant, but I've never seen the kind of turnover that it looks like Antonio Brown has had in terms of friends, assistants, and the various people in his orbit. The only constant seems to be Drew Rosenhaus. And I think that's because Drew has taken a role of you do what you do, and then I'll try to fix it eventually, as opposed to trying to be more involved and trying to give Antonio Brown advice, which is honestly something he needs.
Do you think more likely that he continues to play? And this is, I guess, maybe not fair to ask you, but he continues to play commissioner's exempt or he gets suspended?
I think it depends on what else comes out. After we wrote our story yesterday on this second sexual misconduct accuser, and then also details with all these people who are suing him, we had 3 more people reach out to say Antonio Brown owes me money. And so obviously, we don't know if any of those people are credible. I don't know if I'm going to do a follow-up story or not, but I think that there are going to be people coming out of the woodwork with Antonio Brown stories piling on, for lack of a better word, and the NFL is going to have to decide, when is enough, and frankly, the Patriots will have to decide, can we actually keep this person from embarrassing us for the next 6 months? Because, I don't think they have to worry about the off season. I think they have a plan for that. I think they can cut ties with him if they feel like he's not stable enough. But the question is whether or not he's stable enough to handle the next 5-6 months in the building.
Any chance of talking to his accuser?
I think that their strategy ever since the failed lawsuit is to find the right venue to drop this story, which they did, to talk to the NFL, to try to put pressure on Antonio Brown, which they did. And I think they'll go dark at this point.
Robert, good to talk to you. There was great reporting on this story. There's more history to Antonio Brown's history. It's on the MMQB. Great to talk to you.
Thank you.
That's Robert Klemko.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.